Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video on Austen, Tayshus, who had a massive comedy skit in Australia in the early 1980s. Well, I thought, let's just continue on a little bit with Australia, I think, for the next 2 or 3 videos as we look at some of our, I suppose, television legends. And it does not get much bigger than this guy, actually. This guy is very, very well loved, was very well loved in Australia. His story started in 1938. Albert Watson Newton was born. Australian entertainer, radio, theatre, television. This guy's won the Logie Hall of Fame, which is a very, very high honour indeed, and 4-time Gold Logie winner, which is the most popular TV personality in the country. Well, Albert Newton would actually shorten his name to Bert Newton. Bert was actually grew up in Fitzroy, Melbourne, and he was one of 6 children. In fact, as a devout Roman Catholic family, there was a thought that he was going to go into the priesthood, but he didn't think that was for him. But since 1956, which is when television came to Australia, this guy has been a fixture ever since then. But before 1956 and 1952, he was getting into radio. 3XY put him on in a bit of a junior role. He got to know Doug McKenzie. Doug McKenzie would be part of the clowning duo Zig and Zag. And Bert Newton got sort of ramped up in that a little bit. He became a bit of a clown himself, and because of that, he became a Saturday morning children's show staple. And this would be very much set the tone for Bert Newton going forward. He was always the guy that would be there supporting the main guy. This was the thing that made Bert Newton so iconic, was that he was more than happy to be in duos. In 1954, 3XY actually promoted him to junior announcer. And of course, when you sort of hear your voice on national radio, it wasn't long before HSV7 came calling in 1957, and he was part of The Late Show. And in fact, it wasn't long before, in fact, 1959 to 1960, Bert Newton had his own show on television that went for a couple of years. But it was when he teamed up with the iconic Graham Kennedy, 1960 to 1961, that he became a household name. I've got a bit of a television clip of the two of them in action. We've got Graham as the king and Bert doing what he does so well. This would be an enduring partnership and friendship that would go on for years. In 1960, so we've got a TV clip of the two of them in the early years. In 1962, he would be, Channel 9 would give him his own show, and he sort of got involved in a few bits and pieces around that time. But his life was to change in 1975 when Don Lane, who was actually from the United States, came to Australia, and the 5 Logie winning Don Lane show, which went from 1975 to 1983, ushered in really a new style of television. Australia fell in love with Don Lane, they fell in love with Bert Newton, and the two of them just fed off each other really well. At one point, the Don Lane show was on 4 nights a week. Now, just get your head around that for a second. We're talking a couple of hours per night. The Don Lane show was absolutely massive, and Bert Newton well and truly accompanied Don with all of the antics that the show got up to. Now, Bert Newton wasn't scared to ham up celebrities. He wasn't scared to bring a fun and a bit of life into the show. And he got known as a Moonface on that particular show, which he kind of loved. So we've got a bit of a compilation clip of Bert Newton on the Don Lane show. Also, around that time in 1976, he actually became the host of New Faces. This is a bit of a talent show. And I've got a bit of a clip of that one of a contestant that didn't like Australia very much at all. And so it's really good, I think, just to see how Bert Newton would conduct himself in what could be sometimes tenuous circumstances. Very, very clever clip, a very, very insightful clip into the demeanour of Bert Newton on television. He wasn't expecting what came out, but there we go. In 1984, he got Tonight with Bert Newton. I've got a TV clip from there. And in 1988, Bert Newton got inducted into the Logie Hall of Fame. Now, Australia does compilation clips really, really well. If you want to summarise up a bit of a career up to this point, you're going to get the Logies are going to come up with that, and you can see here a compilation clip of Bert Newton with Don Lane, with Graham Kennedy, right back at the very, very start. So you've got to have his induction to the 1988 Logie Hall of Fame. There's also a bit of a speech here from him as well. In 1992 to 2005, so that's actually a very, very long run. Good Morning Australia. Bert Newton was the host of this particular show, and he interviewed all sorts of people in that time. If you got on the Bert Newton show as a celebrity, you know you'd made it. We've got a great clip of him sausage making. And I think you can just see what could be quite a boring thing is turned into something almost a little bit erotic at times. This is very, very clever ad-lib television here. Bert Newton was the master of the television camera, and he was able to actually bring anything to life. So we've got a great clip of him involved in sausage making. Around after that time, he was involved in a few other shows, and of course 20 to 1, Gearing Countdown of Famous Things, and also the What a Year retrospectives that he was part of. As well as doing television, he was also very much in theatre. Beauty and the Beast, The Producers, The Sound of Music. Now, I actually saw Bert Newton in The Sound of Music. That was pretty clever. He was the kind of agent guy in that particular show. He was more than comfortable being on stage as well. In fact, he was so comfortable that when Robert Guest unexpectedly died as the wizard in Wicked, they called on Bert Newton to replace him, and so Bert Newton was well and truly in his element on stage as well. There was an enduring love story with Bert and Patti Newton. These two met in 1974, and every now and then these two got to perform on stage together. Here we've got a bit of a clip of the two of them having it up as country artists. Bert and Patti absolutely adored each other. They were almost Australia's first couple in many ways. Bert unfortunately left us in 2021 at the age of 83, and it was a very sad day that day. It's almost like something in Australia had changed that day, losing such a well-loved television guy who'd had a stunning career all the way from 1956 to 2021. So there's decades of being someone's sidekick, hosting his own shows, being on stage. He was the all-round performer, and when he did leave us in 2021, it was very sad indeed. But Bert did receive a member of the British Empire and also an Australian medal, and so he was well and truly acknowledged by the British Empire that he was part of to receive both of those medals. Move forward to 2022, and the Logies decided to actually name an award in Bert Newton's honour. And it was that first year that Patti Newton actually awarded that award. And we got another bit of compilation tribute to Bert Newton right here. He will always be part of Australian television, always part of our Australian psyche, because he was Mr. Television, well and truly. So we've got a TV clip of that particular award as well. It's very brave for Patti Newton to get up in such a public setting and pay tribute to her husband. So it's great, I think, to be able to acknowledge people that I grew up with, people that were around for a lot of my life on television. He was just always there, and I think I have very fond memories of Bert Newton, just the way he was. I do remember the Don Lane show and how iconic it was. He hand up Dennis Roussos when Dennis Roussos actually appeared on the Don Lane show. It was a lot of fun all around as Bert would do that. He wasn't scared to just take things to the extreme in the sake of getting a laugh, and he was very much on the spur of the moment, but slightly scripted and planned at the same time. This is the magic of Bert Newton. It's great for this channel to be able to give him a tribute today. So the links to those 8 clips are in the description below, and I've also included my last video from Austen Tayshus. So if you want to recap on from him, of course Austen Tayshus and Bert Newton would have crossed paths at some point, I would have thought. You can recap on him as well. Well, if this is your first time to Life Reflections Through Music, or you've come back for another one, how great to see everybody here. Well, speaking of Bert Newton, you've got to go to Graham Kennedy, the king of Australian television, next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.